Hello and welcome back to The Wellbeing. My name is Madison,
My name is Rachel.
and today we're talking about caffeine, which we were surprised by. I thought
Yeah.
everything was gonna be like, don't drink this, it's bad for you. Wrong.
Yes, I got so excited when researching for this because usually when we pick a topic and we dive deep into it, it's like, God damn it, like not again. Everything is terrible. We're dying. Like the world is terrible. And this one was
Mm-hmm.
very exciting because I personally, and you too, Mad, you love coffee, yeah?
I do love coffee.
Yeah, coffee
Mm-hmm.
is amazing. I love it. I
It's
love the
so good.
taste of it. I love it in the mornings. I love it in the afternoons. I've stopped drinking in the afternoons, but I do love coffee. But Maddie, you are not a tea person.
No, I don't like hot flavored water. I only like iced coffee, iced tea,
That's right,
cold
iced.
soup. It's just, I like it iced. I don't like hot flavored water. It is the strangest thing about me. Everyone thinks it's weird. It's fine. Whatever.
Do you drink hot
Um,
coffee though, or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Even
You
when
drink
it's
iced
literally like
coffee.
negative 25 outside. Yeah.
That
No.
is so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's gross.
I think, okay. I
I think
think,
it's gross.
yeah, that's
I used to
interesting.
make coffee in a French press with just really hot water, like not even boiling. And then my husband was like,
Oh, yeah.
what are you doing?" And I was like, "Making coffee." This is when we first started dating. He was like, why aren't you boiling the water?" I'm like, "The water's super hot from the tap." He was
From
like,
the tap.
"Yep, yep." And he's like, I'm not drinking that."
Mm-mm.
Because
Well, no
he's
wonder.
like you guys, like a big coffee snob.
So is
Yeah,
Joe.
I
Not in a
know.
bad way, but yeah, like
Big coffee
are
snob.
they both are. Yeah.
Like he texted me yesterday, he's like, "Ugh, I hate coffee from this place." I'm like, I couldn't tell you the difference. Like, I just think it tastes like coffee. But I do really enjoy it. I just think it all tastes like coffee.
Okay, that's
Anyways,
fair. I do feel like Joe used to be a barista, so he's like made me into a snob for sure.
that makes sense.
I do have a yeah, a preference on coffee, but I also drink it black, so I feel like that's makes you want it to be better in some ways because you're like
Yes.
tasting it all.
Yes. I used to drink mine black and then I started adding protein powder to it in the morning, which tastes like a vanilla latte, which is superior.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and a
mean,
little bit of milk.
for some people, it's definitely efficient.
It
You
is
get all
efficient.
your things in. And it's good
Mm.
because honestly, like drinking caffeine on an empty stomach is not great.
Yeah, that is the one thing that we probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, you should definitely like pair it with some type of protein or
Hmm.
breakfast. That
Hmm.
that is definitely a good call. But anyways, we will talk about the topic that we're supposed to talk about today,
Yes.
which we're talking about coffee and tea, basically everything that has to
Caffeine.
do with those caffeine, health benefits, what brands to choose, what to look out for, especially regarding like the brewing process and like plastics, which are things that we've touched on before. We'll talk about like additives to your coffee, like flavorings and things like that, and like where to go for the healthiest direction with those things, especially since I know I am in the minority drinking black coffee. I know most people like something in their coffee to zhuzh it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about all the options, which will be
If you
fun too.
have good black coffee, though, it is really good.
It's so good. It's so
It
it's
is good.
honestly life-changing. And I never had like I when I was in grad school, I used to drink from a Keurig and do K cups every day, which is really bad.
So
No.
bad.
So if you do not know, we talked about this in our plastics podcast where basically all of the K cups are in a little plastic pod. So when that heats up really hot, all of the chemicals from the plastic is leaching into your cup of coffee. So not great. If you are using K cups, definitely switch over to like the reusable pod that's not plastic. Or just switch coffee makers, honestly. But
That's
anyways,
what I
that's
would
what I
do.
used to use
So
in
wasteful.
it. Yeah, and it's wasteful. It's bad for the turtles and the environment. I don't know turtles specifically, but we'll just like say everything
Everything's bad for the
is bad
turtles.
for the turtles. Save the turtles. But yeah, so that cup of coffee, I promise if you've never had like a pour over cup of coffee with really good organic beans from a coffee shop, like next time you're at a coffee shop that's like not Starbucks, guys, but like a small, like fourth wave coffee shop where they offer a pour over, please try it and do not put any milk, do not put any cream. any flavoring in it, it will change your life, truthfully.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's hard to make. That's another mistake I made when D and I first started dating is I was at his place and he was like, uh, where you'd make this pour over situation. And he like measured it all out for me and like did it the right way.
He is a coffee snob.
He
I
is.
love
He
it. I
is.
love it so much.
And he's like, you just pour it over here. And I did it. There's a special way to do it. I did not do it the right way. And it was just like light brown water. And he was like, how did you,
Mess this
how did
up.
this happen? I don't know.
Oh, that's so funny.
Anyways, but it is good when you
Yes,
do it the right way.
it's so good. It's
So
honestly
good.
like, I don't know. I know you like chocolate, right, Mad?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So who was I talking? Somebody I was talking to recently doesn't, but that's weird. Anyways, I feel like it's almost like eating a Hershey's bar versus like a like dark chocolate, like
Yes.
organic chocolate
Hmm.
bar. Like that is the difference to me.
Yes. And something to know is that most coffee is already bad by the time you drink it. So they take it, they, I don't know, what do you do to coffee? You roast it and then you give it to the person and then it sits on the shelf in
Mm-hmm.
Target or in Starbucks
Mm-hmm.
or in your local coffee shop or whatever for a decently long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by the time, like, I don't have the exact statistic on this. I didn't look. I should have. Someone actually drinks the coffee. It's like a month and a half old or something like that, which is
It's
kind of gnarly.
probably even
Even older.
older because I think like the freshest, like best coffee is like within a month is like rule
Okay.
of thumb. Yeah. So yeah, I bet it's even older. And I know depends on like shipping and stuff like that, but some of like the local coffee shops that um roast, we have like our own roaster here in Fort Collins, which is so cool. Yeah, like she used to own a coffee shop, but now she just like roasts and we just buy all of our beans directly from her. But a lot of the like local shops will list on there when it was roasted, and if it's within a month, it's like the freshest, best that you can
Yeah,
have.
that's what we do. Um, we get it from a local coffee shop situation.
Is
Hmm.
I'm trying to remember coffee at your house, but I can't. But I bet it was really good. If it's D's standards, then I bet it's
These
really good.
standards, yeah, it is good. Anyway,
Okay,
there
let's talk
are
about yes, health
health
benefits.
benefits, yes, of coffee
Yes,
consumption,
yes.
which this is honestly shocking to me. Because there are, of
Yeah.
course, some considerations like
Hmm.
during pregnancy and things like that. But
Hmm.
overall, moderate consumption of coffee, which is 3 to 5 cups a day,
It's a lot.
which
I
is
think
that's a
like
lot of coffee.
also around like 400 milligrams is what I saw.
Okay. Okay.
Just because I know like a
But
pour over could have more than like a
yeah,
different
I
cup.
saw a meme the other day. It was like, why is everyone asking or acting like we all know what 200 milligrams of coffee looks like or of caffeine looks like? I was like, great question.
It's
I
so
have no
true.
clue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
But indicate a 15% reduction in cardiovascular disease risk with habitual coffee intake and no increased risk of recurrent cardiovascular events in those with history of a condition, which is really interesting because it
Hmm.
also like stimulates your heart to beat faster, which you would
Hmm.
think would be like too stimulating, but apparently not.
Yes.
It also may lower the risk of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, which contributes to overall cardiovascular health.
Yes. Also lowering risk of several types of cancer, including liver, endometrial, and skin cancers. Particularly, again, notable with like 3 to 4 cups per day, which offers the greatest benefit. And then some of their bioactive compounds, such as chlorogenic acids, have antioxidant and chemopreventative properties that contribute to these effects.
So interesting.
I know. And then also other like neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's too. So get your sauna in, get your coffee in, people.
That's
Um,
crazy.
and then also like beneficial effects on obesity, metabolic syndrome due to its anti-inflammatory properties, which is so cool. I just
That
didn't
is
know.
really cool.
I didn't
I didn't
know
know
it
any
had
of
all
this.
this health benefits and especially so much. Like I definitely
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I feel like I should only be drinking 1 cup of coffee per day and no more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's like not good for my health. But this is really
Yeah.
interesting.
Huh. Yeah. I never would have guessed that this is the truth. My mom always said to me, she's like, I swear one of these days someone's gonna tell me that like I shouldn't be drinking coffee anymore, and I can't wait to send this to her.
She's gonna be so
I
excited.
know. She's like, it's my like warm treat in the morning. I love it. And I'm like, but
I
I'm
love
sure
it
it'll be fine
too. Yeah. It's one of those things that's, I don't even know how long it's been around for, but been around forever. And
forever.
it's natural, right? Like it's from the earth,
Yeah.
natural process. Like it, in my head, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
we've changed how some of it has been processed, right? Like this heavily processed stuff or like adding
Hmm.
flavorings and stuff like that. And that is the stuff you want to stay away from. But I mean, it is like something that's been around forever and super natural
Hmm.
and can be organic. So I don't know. It makes sense to me.
Totally.
Um,
I will say that more unfiltered coffees that don't have like a actual filter in it, so French press, Turkish coffee can have higher levels of oils that can raise your cholesterol levels. So if you are a
mhm,
person who has higher cholesterol, paper filters will help block those oils, making sure you're getting an unbleached one, making sure it's BPA free, PFAS free. You're having again unbleached regular old paper. They sell them at Whole Foods. It's the ones that I
mhm.
normally get before I even knew this. That has less of an effect on your cholesterol levels, which is a good thing.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think most of the studies that were done are done on filtered coffee. So, like, the
That
health
makes sense.
benefits are usually from filtered coffee versus unfiltered. Not saying you should never have a French press again, but maybe you just have a French press like on Saturdays and not like Monday through Friday or whatever
That makes a lot of sense. I used to only do French press, not anymore.
with hot water.
Correct. That's how I made my hot water coffee.
And that is why you are scarred to this day by like hot coffee and tea.
That's so funny. No, I just don't like hot flavored water. It's gross.
Oh man. Yeah. Okay, the other thing to remember too is that like there is a sweet spot with this. Like we
Hmm.
were saying a moderate level of coffee or caffeine, which is around 400 milligrams a day. Obviously if you are someone that has other, comorbidities or
Hmm.
diseases, this is something to check in with your doctor. I almost said pediatrician. I say pediatrician so much from working with kids. This is something to check in with your PCP about. But there is a point where that flips. It's not always like, okay, more coffee, more caffeine is better. Obviously, we all know this, but like if you're getting more than like 5 to 6 cups a day, it might flip and have like opposite effects where it's not, as
Yeah,
great for
that's a
your
lot of
cardiovascular
coffee.
health. It's a lot. Like that is
A
a
lot of coffee.
lot of coffee. Nobody needs to be
Hmm.
drinking that much coffee.
No, that's how much coffee I drink when we are driving from California to Wyoming in one day.
Do you get up to like 5 or 6?
D probably does.
Do you guys have to stop and go to the bathroom all the time?
I swear he shuts his body functions down. I don't know.
He's actually a robot.
When driving. Yeah, that's you Midwestern people. You can all do that.
When I worked home health, I was a boss about like never using the bathroom.
That's crazy.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
You would too, though. Like if
yeah,
you don't want to
probably.
use people's bathrooms.
Mm-mm.
Some are fine. So we talked about all of the health benefits. I know it can also improve your mood, great source of antioxidants. Obviously, we're all thinking about prevention. We talked about um, genetics in that episode with Natalie and like
Hmm.
turning on like or off genetics later on if you're susceptible. So this is something that could be really helpful, like just like with Parkinson's, like we already talked about, and neurodegenerative diseases. So
Hmm.
if you are drinking your cup of coffee in the morning, this is this is widely a good thing, but there are some things to remember. And we already talked about one, which is mainly focusing on filtered coffee versus unfiltered. So this is going to
Hmm.
be things like a Chemex or your normal like coffee machine. And we do have in our master spreadsheet, we have the clean, like as far as
Hmm.
plastics go and toxins go, linked in our spreadsheet for coffee makers. And we use a
Hmm.
Chemex, which I love. But
Fancy.
we did have to switch filters. So coffee filters to be
We have not
better.
switched our coffee situation yet.
Your guys' coffee maker, though, is like the cleanest automatic one that there is.
Oh, someone got it for us. That makes me happy. It's a
You guys
Mocha
have,
Master.
yeah, that's like
Someone
the,
bought it for us.
well, they crushed it. Like that is
They
the
did.
only automatic coffee maker that
Mm.
like has like PFAS free, BPA free, like all those
Oh,
things.
heck
So
yeah.
you guys
Sweet. I
crushed
don't
it.
feel as
Yeah.
concerned. Well, you know
No,
who
you
got it for
shouldn't.
us?
Who?
Dee's old roommate, as a wedding gift, got it for us, who is the reason that D had so many coffee options in his old apartment in New York.
Oh, so he knew what he was doing.
He had that apartment was probably 800 square feet. Three adult men lived in there. This is New York City, people. And their kitchen was probably the size of that chair behind me, like literally so small. They had 12 ways to make coffee. 12.
I love that. I love it.
So he was a man of many appliances, you could say.
Necessities. All
Not
the
D, but
coffee.
his roommate. Yeah,
That's funny. Well, he
very
crushed
funny.
it.
One thing I
Um,
did want to mention as we're talking about filters is bring up the tea bag
yeah.
situation. So, tea bags, I mean, you make a cup of tea and you just put the bag in. It's super convenient. That's great. The problem is that most tea bags have plastic fibers and or plastic sealants or are made of nylon, which is just like dripping BPAs into your teacup, which is not great. Even and this research says even paper tea bags have an unsettling substance called epichlorohydrin added to them in order to keep them from bursting. So I always did wonder, like, how do plastic or paper bags soak in hot water for, I don't know, some people leave them in there for hours at a time.
hmm And not like
Um,
fall apart.
exactly. Like, how do they
Yeah.
not just disintegrate? And
hmm
it apparently is that chemical, which is not so great for us. I don't
hmm
know what it is. It's an epoxy, I think. A colorless, flammable, reactive liquid that is used to make epoxy resins,
Okay.
which
Nice.
does not sound great. So, the only thing about this that I can think of to be able to still drink tea is you don't necessarily have to get loose leaf tea. But I
hmm
recently, I mean, guys, I do not drink hot tea. I make my tea and then I let it sit for actually hours and then I drink it when it's lukewarm. Um, and I don't even do that often, or I put ice cubes in it.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
that's my life, and I just think it's nasty. But
You're so funny.
when I do that, I let it sit in I like rip open the tea bag
hmm
if I didn't buy loose leaf tea, and then put it in my little metal strainer and just sit it in the cup.
Okay. I need to
That's what I've been
add
doing.
a metal strainer to the
Oh, to the
list.
spreadsheet.
I did find some brands, and we'll add this to the
Mm-hmm.
spreadsheet that do contain plastic in their tea bags, and some not, or some surprising ones, some big ones like Tazo and Tivana,
Ay, ay, ay.
Celestial seasonings. And then I found some that do not, which is like Hookah, Numi, Republic of Tea, Stash, and Yogi Tea. But I also just kind of like the idea of just using like free
Mm-hmm.
leaves in
Me
a
too.
strainer. Like that just
Mm-hmm.
feels like the safest
Yeah, and
way
it's
to do it.
definitely easier to buy bagged tea, which is why I've just been ripping open the top of the tea bag.
That
And
makes sense.
I have one of those cups that like a friend got it for me as a gift, but it's like a
Yeah.
glass cup and then it has the strainer attached to it and then a wood top. It's super
Yeah,
nice,
those
like
are
a glass
nice.
glass.
Okay.
And I just put that strainer, like if the glass is dirty, I just put that strainer in any mug and it pretty much fits. Like I've put
Oh,
it on
cool.
giant ones, tiny ones, and it's been fitting really nicely.
That makes sense too, because if it's in plastic or like in a tea bag that has
Mm-hmm.
plastic and you get that hot, then
Mm-hmm.
that's more
It's
likely to
gonna
release the chemicals, whereas like it won't be as much.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
So I
that makes
just
a lot of sense.
get rid of the bag, put it in the metal, and call it good.
Yeah. So either look for like a little bit healthier brands or just do loose tea. And especially if you drink it
Yes,
every day, like it might just be
totally.
easier to like get yourself set up with something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's way easier.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so. And those metal things are
so
easy to rinse out. You don't
yeah,
really have
they're
to like wash them. I mean, you should
no,
wash them, but you don't have to like every time. It's not like it's getting gross.
right, or like
Just rinse it out
sanitize
right
them or
away.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so that's what you look for when looking for tea. If you're looking for coffee, some big things to look for too are organic. And obviously, like we all know, organic is usually better, right? But this specifically for coffee, you can look for like the USDA tag on the bag, and it means that it has been grown on soil that has had none of the prohibited substances like synthetic fertilizers and pesticides for 3 years. So that's like kind of crazy that some
I
of
did
the
not know that.
brands, yeah, like it's crazy what that means. Cause we all, like I know it's different for everything, but it's crazy thinking about that. Like obviously you would want that in your coffee, like something that hasn't been exposed to those things
Totally.
for a long period of
I
time.
know that some people are also concerned with mycotoxins and mold.
Mhm. Mhm.
I know the brand Danger Coffee, they are all mold-free, mycotoxin-free. But
Yes.
I also know the argument, and I think a lot about mold just in my patient caseload
Yes.
awareness
Yeah, I
situation.
feel like
I
you
think a
talk about
lot
it all
about
the time.
mold. And breathing in mold, very bad.
Mhm.
Very, very bad. Avoid at all costs. Eating mold, obviously, we shouldn't just be like pounding mold, but probably not the end of the world
Okay.
comparatively to breathing it in.
Oh,
So if
that's
you're like, I
interesting.
don't know if that like my coffee is perfect or not, and you're having like a cup a day and you don't have any symptoms of mold issues, like it's not something that I would be so concerned about compared to like if you had a choice between remediating your home and switching your coffee, I'd remediate your home.
That's really interesting. I know to what you said, there are, so obviously, like when looking for coffee, avoid the brands like Folgers or trying to find that other brand. Let's see here, Maxwell House. Like both of those
Honestly,
are
Starbucks, Pete's.
like very low quality, use
Mm-hmm.
pesticides, no sustainability with farming, may have chemicals and
Mm-hmm.
molds present,
Yeah.
fungicides. As far as what to look for, again, like that USDA organic certification is good. Like some better ones, like you said, Stumptown is really good. That's available at most grocery stores, I feel like. And Death Wish, Jim's Organic, Kicking Horse is really good. And then there's also some that do a third party mold testing, which is pretty cool. And the best one I found for that is called Purity. And again, we'll link all these in our master spreadsheet so you guys can have them and don't have to like write down and remember them. Purity, Natural Force, Biodynamic, Bulletproof, Peak Performance, all of these do a third party testing for mold
Oh,
and
that's really good to know.
mycotoxins, which is cool. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then they
And
also release the results too publicly to people.
that's amazing.
Hmm.
I will say if you want to still buy your coffee from like Rachel, you're buying it from a local roaster or I'm buying it from a local coffee shop or whatever, you can also ask them how they do their processes. And like I
Hmm.
know that I've asked um my local coffee shop how they decaffeinate their coffee. Decaf
Hmm.
coffee is not something we touched on so much, but if you do want to buy decaf and you don't want it chemically processed, use something that is Swiss water processed decaf, and that's just like they soak it in water for a long time, basically, and get rid of the caffeine. So like I've asked them, they always know the answer to those types of things. So those are things to consider as well. You can always
Definitely.
ask.
Yeah. Because I think an alternative to the Swiss method is like using a type of chemical that's used in like paint
Yeah,
thinners. So
pretty
definitely good to
much.
ask. And if people
Yeah.
do it the right way, they love to talk about how they do
Hmm.
things. Like
They do.
that's because they're
They
doing
really
it the
do.
right way and they've put so much
Hmm.
thought and effort and
Hmm.
into it. So that's a really good point. I like that.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, we have a local coffee shop here in Fort Collins that's amazing. And like they do everything amazing, like sustainable, and they talk about their coffee. And one of Joe's friends came and visited us, and he used to own a coffee shop. He knows the most about coffee ever out of anyone I've ever talked to in my life. His name is Todd. He's so cool. He was at our wedding, but yeah, you would have met him. But I feel like maybe you met him. He lives in Madison. But
Maybe.
anyways, he was here and he was like so excited. And he was just talking to the owner and like got all the details about like where exactly on this like ridge slash like valley this particular bean was growing because it has to like be exposed to so much shade and sun per day. And like that's why there's only like a very specific part of the world where this like type of
Wow.
bean could grow. Yeah, like
It's like wine.
it's crazy. Like it is down to a science. And so after learning all that too, and I'm like, okay, that bag of coffee is $20 versus like a different bag is $10. That's like kind of a shitty bag of coffee. Like
It
I'd
is.
way rather pay for that much more of a product and like quality of a product. Like that's so worth it to me.
I agree. And I think I've told the story of the podcast. If not, I think I've told you, but we used to get like giant, like dog food bag size coffee bags of just whole beans. When I was probably in high school from my brother's baseball teammates' family or something who had a coffee farm down in Venezuela. And they
Okay.
used to separate the coffee in a pool. And when they put it in this pool, it would separate itself. Like the crappy ones float and the bad ones
Mm,
sink, or the good ones sink. Something like that. I don't know which order. I'm not a coffee. I'm not Todd. But she said like the crappier they were, they would sell them to Starbucks and then Folgers and then Maxwell and Pete's and whatever. And then the good ones they would sell to like local coffee shops and like good roasters and stuff like that. And then the bottom ones they kept for themselves, which I
that's
loved, or like the best
crazy.
ones or whatever they kept keep for themselves. So it really does matter the quality of the bean, but I think Starbucks was the worst bean you could buy.
Honestly, I know people love their Starbucks, but and I feel like we're probably not reaching the right audience on this podcast with this, but like go to your local coffee shops. Like they do things right.
Yeah,
They
people listening to
care.
this podcast probably already are.
I know they already are. We need to figure out how to reach the other people. Like everybody on this that listens to us is freaking amazing and
Totally.
like doing all the things and changing their lives. And I love it so much, but I know. That's very
Totally.
true. That's
One
really
thing I want to say for my people who are listening who have vestibular disorders, who are like, I cannot drink caffeine, and you know it, Madison. I do know it, and you probably can't drink caffeine. Um, I hear you. It's a frustrating
Mhm.
one. It is because caffeine does have an impact on the fluid dynamics of your inner ear and also on like vasodilation constriction of your brain. Coffee and caffeine can be a really great rescue tool for some people without vestibular migraine, with like classic migraine. That's why people will have like a Diet Coke or have a cup of coffee or something like that when they feel a migraine coming on. And it's pretty standard.
Really?
Mhm. If you
Hmm.
are going to have coffee, make sure it's at this. If you have a vestibular disorder and you do want to have coffee, drink it at the same time, the same amount every single day.
Hmm.
And that's the only way to get around it that I found.
If you are somebody that has vestibular migraine, you can
Hmm.
offset it by having a cup of coffee.
Usually it's not vestibular migraine. Usually it makes my VMers worse, but classic
Okay.
migraine.
Okay.
That's why
Okay.
like Excedrin migraine has caffeine in it. But you also
Hmm.
shouldn't be taking those because if you take those more than 9 times a month, it contributes to medication overuse headache, which is something I talk about on my podcast. We will not go into the dynamics of why that happens here, but it is a thing. Hmm.
Okay. Well, those with dizziness listening and you want to still drink
Yeah.
coffee,
Same
Swiss
time.
decaf
Swiss water
method.
processed decaf. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. It's
Okay.
the only one that's actually caffeine free too.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good call out. You can still get your
Yeah.
coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah. So other things I want to talk about is super quick touch
Mhm.
is I know like Joe and I always have a thing of creamer in our fridge for all of our guests. Like everybody that comes because it's a make or break, right? Like people don't want to drink coffee if they usually have creamer in it. Like you're either a creamer person or you're not a creamer person. So we always have some creamer in the fridge. But I was looking into this and a lot of creamers you guys have artificial flavorings. And if you haven't listened to our podcast on that, go back and listen to it. Obviously, like a tiny bit of creamer in your coffee, in your one cup of coffee is totally fine, right? Like that's not going to have a huge health effect. But if it's something that you're drinking every single day and maybe you just want to make a swap or you have multiple a day, or you're one of those people that's like, I'm more like a 50% creamer, 50% coffee type of person, then you might want to swap it out for something else. One thing that I found that sounds really good is just doing like milk with vanilla extract and cinnamon in it, which sounds pretty good. Everything's like
That does sound
totally
good. Hmm.
whole. Yeah.
I just do whole
Yeah.
milk. Hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Whole milk, yeah, is great. So those are some options too, but just like a sneaky thing to watch out for some of those
Yeah,
flavorings. And then also like
totally.
flavored coffee can have like
Oh
those
yeah.
artificial. sweeteners in them too, so look out for that. And maybe just do like the
Mhm.
non-flavored or like the natural flavored, like this coffee tastes like chocolate and blueberries.
Which is different than natural flavorings,
Correct.
but yes.
Yes.
It's like wine,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like it tastes like cherries and you're like, "What? Did you put a cherry in there?" And you're like, "No,
You
we didn't."
have to like taste it a very specific way.
Exactly.
I think like coffee, you're supposed to like when you sip it, I'm gonna make a really gross noise, everybody. Just like get ready for it. You're supposed to like sip it really loud
Interesting.
or in a certain way. I learned this from Todd and Joe because when we first started dating, I was like, that is really odd, and I don't know about that. And he's like, no, like when you sip it, you're supposed to like, I don't know, you're supposed to like be able to taste it more. I don't know, you guys. That's what's up, I guess, apparently. I don't know. We're not the coffee perfectionists here, but if you do sip it like that, apparently it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Other really quick little tips at the end here. If you do buy coffee, a great way to store it is in like an airtight container, non-plastic, in like a dark, dry place. That'll make it last longer. Choose organic. Also, light to medium roast might have more health promoting phenols, whereas like dark roasts, which they obviously roast for longer, might destroy like some of the health benefits. And then lastly, best thing to do too is to buy like the whole beans and grind your own coffee, and it'll be the freshest taste. So yeah. Anything else, Mad?
I don't think so. That makes sense. Also, a lot of people, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but kind of does, think that the darker your coffee is, the more caffeine it has, when it's actually
Mm,
the opposite. So if you are trying to get more caffeine or less caffeine, it's probably the opposite of what you think. Light coffee has way more caffeine than dark roast coffee.
yeah, that seems the opposite for
Yeah,
sure.
it does.
Yeah.
But they roast it all out and like char it. That gets rid of the caffeine.
Yeah,
Anyway,
so interesting. Okay. Favorite
all
thing
right.
about today, Mad?
Oh, that it has so many health benefits I didn't know about. My mom's going to be thrilled.
No, I know. I
It's so
don't want to
cool.
say the same one, but that is also mine. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
health benefits and then how much technically that you can have. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
need to stop feeling guilty for drinking 2 cups of coffee a day. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that
Totally.
just took a weight off
And
my shoulders.
totally. And I also think one super easy swap is just don't buy the bleached coffee filters.
Hmm.
Super simple. Buy the
Hmm.
unbleached one. They practically cost the same.
They do. Yeah. And they're
Mm-hmm.
available at Whole Foods and most
Most grocery
places.
stores.
But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we'll link that. But awesome. Thanks for going on this journey with us today. As always, like, subscribe, let us know what you
What
guys
you
want to
think?
talk about, what you want to hear about, and we will see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.